talking about cost control in a business, reducing waste and increasing efficiency, and how that surrounds effective cost management in a business and in a manufacturing environment. And what businesses can do to try and reduce costs, increase efficiency, and overall what factors are there in the world right now that's going on that limits businesses, that helps businesses, that increased costs, and why overall businesses need to be more efficient to try and still make money at the end of the day, because everything's getting more expensive now, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's the talk this morning with kind of investors and with people who are looking to do other things and be other part of our business, are asking what's going on in the world, and it forces you to evaluate it. And you've got national insurance going up, you've got energy costs going up. It's certainly becoming a global marketplace where things are more competitive. I think you'd mentioned on a separate discussion the fact that material costs have gone up. You've got Trump doing his whole tariff thing, which has mean tariffs are playing off against tariffs. So anyone who's exporting has a different cost model, and they've got to get the price per part right down. So there are a number of challenges coming back into manufacturing that manufacturers have to squeeze everything down to be profitable and to be manufacturing goods at the best price they can make. So it's a real challenging environment these days.
I don't think that's a bad thing, to be honest. Trump's additional tariffs. I mean, look at the amount of taxes that we pay to do business with a country. You should have to pay tax on that. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's so many. I mean, for example, like look at the car market right now. We take cars from Germany, Europe. We take cars from all over Europe and all over America, but they don't take our cars. It's when do you ever go to France and see a Bentley? It just doesn't happen. So as a country, the UK takes, obviously, I'm kind of trying to relate that to what Trump's doing with the tariff in the US, but at the same time, it should be a two-way street. If we take your cars and we give you the business, you should also give us the business as well. Yeah. And if you're not prepared to do that, then we're just going to put additional tax on what you bring here, because
and I think it's going to be this. What we're going to see is this constant upclimb and change of the cost environment that's just going to make people incredibly nervous. And when order books suddenly are delayed by a week because of a set of decisions that take a little bit longer, those nerves get into the factory floor. And unfortunately, in my career, I've seen factory environments when things start to go quiet and certain production lines aren't filled. There's no capacity there, and there's redeployment of labor. And I know how that feels, and I know how the workforce talk about that, and that you've got the chance of losing skills as people decide for themselves if they're nervous. So there's a lot of workforce management then required, and kind of engagement and over communication. Don't worry, the order book's there, but because of X, Y, and Z, we're having to do this. And but by the way, we're just going to change the shift pattern. We're just going to take a look at these minor cost cutting. We're not going to pay that invoice today. It sets a real tone that is anti kind of productivity, full order book, gung ho, let's get things out the door. And there's a lot of, all of those challenges are going to come into that kind of space where it just doesn't feel like we're optimized and sort of doing well. It's going to be cagey for a while. So yeah, I think you're right in terms of there's a lot of right and there's a lot of kind of wrong, certainly get bounced around decisions and what have you. But when they're out of our control, certainly, or out of manufacturers' control who can't influence them, you just have to live with whatever those decisions are. And the things that you can control are your operating efficiencies, your productivity per man hour, your safety record, your managing delays, managing downtime, managing breakdowns. So the ability to manage those internal costs becomes really important. And I suppose just as a final point on that, there's when it does go quiet in the factory, that's when teams tend to move towards, let's do more training and let's talk about lean manufacturing, let's get our paperwork right, let's catch up with audit controls and so on to be ready and optimized for when that production volume comes through again. But it always feels nervous. It always feels very nervous when that happens, is what I find. And there may be a few manufacturers going through that now and then starting to explore what their path is towards efficiency, in particular if they know certain processes are inefficient or aren't helping with that problem management.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, cost control, reducing waste, and increasing efficiencies, key 3 separate topics, and we could sit here and talk about all 3 of them individually for a long period of time, couldn't we? But people probably don't want to hear that. But they all link into each other quite well, which is why we've obviously tried to put them into one for today.
Yeah,
they complement the back of each other very well. Ultimately, if you're more efficient, then you're going to reduce your waste, and if you're reducing your waste, you're going to be more efficient because you've got less waste. It's businesses find things like that so hard to do, don't they? And it's especially with so much paperwork, as we keep saying in these episodes. It's everything's based around efficiency, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think so. It's the operations against sales almost. It's the sales. Typically, you want sales winning orders and pushing those volumes at the factory, and the factory having to upscale and become efficient and find those efficient ways to manufacture the product so that capacity is full, and that there's an order book pipeline and so on. When it changes and operations have time and sales are having to try and fill that pipeline because there's too much, or there's under capacity, let's say, nobody's then problem managing in the factory, so it forces improvement. It's really good to be full, and yes, I suppose you want your sales team having real confidence about the factory operation, that if they find sales, they can achieve them and get things delivered.
No, definitely. You mentioned training before. Obviously, providing training in any business is key to the success of the business, key to any employee's progression through a business. It's key to bringing new employees into your business. It's obviously when you bring new staff in, you have to train them, and that links back to efficiency. If you don't train them, your staff aren't going to be efficient, and you're not going to produce product efficiently at the end of the day. So it's very important, and those staff, as they progress through a business, you have to replace those staff members with new staff members. So you've got to have very outlined training programs in place in any business to allow that to happen, haven't you?
Yeah, I think that, I think what you want in the ideal sense is people are starting in their entry role in the factory and then are able to progress and move through, and that your training processes are always backfilling so that people are ready for their next role. When you have a gap and people leave roles or leave the business, and then you have a gap and there are a skills gap, that naturally leads to inefficiency. So the ability to flag and see where there is a skills gap or where there are skills opportunities even, and then deploy time against those.
Yeah, having the right staff with the right skills in the right roles at the right time is key. And if you can achieve that, and you haven't got any skills gaps, when you say skills gaps there, that's ideal, isn't it? That means that as a business you have the opportunity to operate at 100% efficiency because you haven't got any gaps. That's it. That's great, and it's down to you to achieve that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it brings me back to kind of some of the product stuff that we talk about, as we drop into it. But the ability to see that the highest performers in an operation are typically the ones that are trained and have been applying those skills the longest is something that sort of we're sort of able to see, and kind of customers are able to see that where they don't do the best job in training, where they don't build experience and plug gaps, people will underperform, not because of the people, but because of the organizational controls to ensure that training's in place, and it's been optimized. It comes back retrospectively, very reactively in the dashboards and through the functionality that we have, which is great. But essentially, we want people to be ahead of that. So it takes some time to work on those processes and work them in, and get them optimized fully.
Yeah, trying to automate all of your processes, isn't it? And automation is key to being efficient. Automation, digitization, that's the future of manufacturing, isn't it? That's modern day manufacturing.
Using the blue collar handle of certainly 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that would be the term, and it was either an unskilled or a semi-skilled, and it was repeatable, simple tasks. Now the tasks are more complex. They're following standard operating procedures. So you have to have the capability to read those safe operating procedures. You have to be able to interpret a lot more machine outputs and signals so that you can be in control. And then, of course, you need to learn what good looks like. So what's a good response to a red light or an amber light on the machine? Is that telling you that you've got to load the jigs, you've got to unload something, you've got to change tips? Those tasks have become certainly semi-skilled. And I think customer for customer that we kind of see, working with, those roles aren't like those old semi-skilled or unskilled craft roles. These are really, really versatile employees that now are becoming optimized with the kind of SQCDP app, so that they have efficient data entry, no noise, and real clarity in their jobs around what they're trying to perform day to day. And that's where we introduce back more efficiency on these semi-skilled or upskilled operators that are left here in 2025.
Yeah, having the correct systems in place, the correct management software, the right tools around you, allows you to streamline your business, allows you to streamline projects and workflows, and enhance your team collaboration, doesn't it? And that's what we're about, isn't it? Bringing that team together so everyone's working much more efficiently together as a collective, as a group,
Yeah,
rather than individually.
Interesting that you say as a group, because it's almost like the word that was jumping out there was like a harmony. It's the something stops, somebody upstream at least is aware of it, and then can see it and can start taking action or behaving in a particular way because they've learned. It's like a Formula One pit crew, or it's like a good band.
And when you've got an automated production environment, it's more important than ever for people to work in harmony with each other, isn't it? You need to be totally in sync, because if somebody up there on their automated station of the production line is making 50 parts per hour less than what they need to be, then that's going to be holding up the entire rest of the process, isn't it? So it's then that comes back to that to training, doesn't it? It's and how you automate that training again. It's we're talking about automation, just going back to training. It's how without hosting physical training sessions that take a long time, and then you've got to have staff out of the business, and you've got downtime, then you've got to replace those staff if you don't want to have downtime while those staff are busy getting trained. It's how do you automate that training process? Can you introduce digital solutions into that training process? Can you introduce on-the-job training so people are getting trained while they're still being productive? It's a very, very much a balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we got the digital ILUO matrix, which kind of it goes way back to like a really simple system that would be the visual management on the main machine workstation. You've got your induction guys and your kind of guys learning, guys delivering, and the guys who've got understanding so can train. And the ability to digitize that and then represent the fact that your guys with the highest understanding are your highest performers, but your guys who are just in induction, and then your turnaround time and your cycle time for training, it all comes into performance. And if that performance is where we started, is the challenge, ultimately, are we delivering our targets for our customers at the right quality with the right number of people and in control of our costs? Then suddenly being able to see that your training capability affects your performance capability, in operations or in production. It's just data that you can work with, and again take the insights from a system like ours, and you'll make the right decision. Callum would make the same decision as I would make when faced with the data, the way it's presented in our daily dashboards and summaries, which becomes powerful because it's empowering not just those frontline workers, but the management staff, the operations staff, the support staff, who at least know how they can contribute to that performance. If you're a quality operative, performance sign-offs, you can quite easily get wound up in the day of business in the factory and just do a lap or two. But if you know where the priority areas are, because you know that there are changeovers coming up and there'll be first off sign-offs needed, if you know where there's been a bottleneck and what the timing should be for you to sort of make a quality inspection or sign off some quarantine stock, that all arrives in the delivery numbers. If you have maintenance and you can see where downtime's been, and you can start to understand root cause, and then you can start to get on top of those things, then you're really contributing to that delivery of product. And I think that's that harmony again, where digitizing an operation allows those happy tunes to be played, because people are synchronized, people are working out how to be best optimized in their rules to meet the needs of the customer ultimately. And I suppose it's about seeing it that way, in particular when we start talking about the challenges of manufacturers today in the international marketplace and even domestic at home. Everybody's got a competitor, everybody's trying to deliver for someone.
Yeah.
And when it's made harder by energy prices, wars in Ukraine, Labour making decisions for itself around where it wants to go and what it wants to do, they're all challenges that you've got to start making decisions to optimize the things that you can. Otherwise, you'll be left behind, and you'll be making decisions that you don't want to be making about your manufacturing business.
Yeah. Well, we're well past 15 minutes there for today's short video, so I think it's good to kind of summarize and finish up there, isn't it? It's kind of just it's summary at the end of a meeting. It's just why it's overall so important to be efficient as a business and as an individual as well. In a business, it keeps you. It ensures sustainability and ensures you've always got that competitive advantage potentially over your competitors, whatever you're trying to offer, and you're always trying to achieve more than them. And being efficient is ultimately the key to doing that, isn't it? It helps improve your quality. It ensures overall customer satisfaction and allows you to stay competitive in the marketplace and individually as well on a personal basis, on a daily basis, isn't it? Ensuring you're doing the right things, you're focusing on the right tasks.
It's if you're working with data, you'll always be working on the right thing, because the data won't lie. And I think it's almost, again, that I've never said it that way for too long, but that is what makes Mitch make the same decision as Callum when we're faced with the same data in the same kind of review, whether it's a production decision or a maintenance decision or an engineering decision or a quality decision. If you're faced with the data, then you should be able to navigate the way to a standardized action, and that is about addressing root cause and supporting the business in the right way. So using data is everything when you're trying to minimize costs and be most effective.
Yeah, definitely. Right. I think that's good enough for today, isn't it?
All right, yeah, thanks very much. I'm going to have a word with someone who's put this on the board as well. It's, it
was all your idea.
Yeah, I have a feeling someone's going to get hold over the coals for that one.